everybody, and welcome to ZOMBcast. Yeah. Your cast for Zoms.
That's my zombie face. I need to have a zombie face of the week.
Yeah, zombie face
so
of the week.
That's my zombie face of the week.
Anyways, I think that's enough ASMR zombies.
Top news.
Top news.
This Halloween, the kids have asked if we can all be zombies.
Zombies.
We're going to be zombies this year for Halloween, and I'm super excited.
Are you going to get some pantyhose, drench them in fake blood, and then have them coming out your shirt?
Pantyhose? Why?
So stuff them full of paper or something. Stuff the pantyhose full of paper, and then paint them all red and have them dangling out of your shirt, so it's like intestines. Just thought of that. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a video somewhere out there on YouTube, but I just came off of the top of my head.
Toilet paper and like molding clay, and you can make split skin and have it like all and put blood in it. So I'm planning on doing a little few things.
Let's do some things, yeah.
Well, we're gonna try to be spooky scaries.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So today you're gonna shoot what in that?
I hope nobody shoots us in the head.
So today on ZOMBcast, why is my hands going all over the place? Today on ZOMBcast, we're going to be talking about a video game. So first was a movie, then we tried to do a TV series. So we're going to try to keep that up where it's like movie, TV series, game. Yep. So today, one of the best zombie games of all time. In fact, this is a zombie game that future zombie games are always compared to, you know, and therefore, is it good or not based on how much better and or like this game it is. So and that is, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Sorry.
And that is Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 is what we're going to be talking about today. So, quick rundown. First time you ever played it, you know, and what you thought about it, and then how it's grown on you over the years.
I played it within the weeks of its release, right?
Yeah.
Played it to my heart's content with the first one for a long time. Backed off of it, you know, until the second one came out. I played the second one, and I was like, man, I got a hankering for the first one, so I started playing the first one again.
Yeah.
And then the game of the year came out, and that's when you got, you know, for the second one, that's when you got like all the maps with the DLCs that came with the second one, and it stuck with me. It was a game that I played, and it's the only game that my wife ever was like, ooh, can I play with you?
Right.
It really says a lot about the type of zombie aspect to it, and like you had precursed, which is what I got excited about. Because I only feel that there's one game that has even come close to being Left 4 Dead-esque, World War Z.
Yes, yeah,
absolutely. That is the only one that I actually can say, yeah, I'm playing Left 4 Dead.
Yeah,
modern and
modern. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
And it's good. Now it's got some big changes, right? It's got a lot of big changes to it, but the horde mode on that thing, oh my god, the zombies flood. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Left 4 Dead. But the point is that's the only game that has done that. And when you get swarmed on Left 4 Dead, I very much feel that it was, you know, the beta version to what World War Z brought. So I wish that Left 4 Dead had that feature. When we get a new Left 4 Dead, if they don't incorporate that feature, they're really going to be missing out. God, could you imagine like 5 hunters coming after you guys? That would be ridiculous. But no, I've played that game a lot, and I've backed off it a lot over the years because I've been playing so many other games. I mean, that's the thing about a game. To make a great game, it has to have solid replayability, which Left 4 Dead does, but it's not one of the games that I feel that I could just play year after year after year. Like, I got to do something else. I've got to entertain. But I mean, if I were to give it a rating, it's a 9 out of 10 for me, or a 10 out of 10. I'm not really sure of that.
I mean, it's probably one of the most perfect zombie games You could argue that, one, that you're surviving a little bit more, or, like something like a 7 Days to Die where like you actually have to eat and stuff. You could argue that something like that is
Yeah.
more realistic to how a zombie apocalypse would be. And yeah,
What's
that's a really good argument. But for me, it's just that, like, this feels so much like, just like, hey, this is a zombie movie, and we're shooting zombies. It gets straight to the fun. There's not a lot of story, but then the story that is there is very intriguing and it keeps you going. So
and there's a lot of lore in the world too.
yeah,
When you look around the world, there's so much to it within detail.
yeah. So me, and how like I first played and everything, I actually didn't have a 360, and this was one of those games that was like, I saw a lot about, and I was like, I really wanted to play it, and I think I ended up playing it right around. It had to have been a couple months after it came out, like maybe even up to 6 months after it came out, because I remember playing it for the first time, and then the second one wasn't that far away. So yeah, but I remember playing it, and I just had so much fun with this game. And I think that the number one thing about it that I loved and that I continue to love about it is the fact that this is the game that, sure, you can play by yourself, but this game was made from the bottom to the top to be a co-op game. This game, you're supposed to work together. And that added to the overall lore of, I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up, I'm a survivor. It added to that, you know what I mean? It made me feel like it immersed me more into the world, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. It made me feel like I was a survivor and I was in that situation because of the way the game director worked. You could, if you went too far away from each other, you would, purposely get attacked by more zombies than the rest of them because you strayed too far away. Or the director would purposely put like a hunter to come after you. It would spawn one and make it come directly to you. So it's very much like there's so many under the hood stuff that just made this game memorable for the fact of just how cooperative it was, and so much so to the fact that it's very hard to replicate, and very few games have. One of my biggest pet peeves, and this goes for like any game that has 4 players and you're either shooting something or you're killing something, almost everybody equates it to Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's fucking not. There's Left 4 Dead games that are like Left 4 Dead. Perfect example, Vermintide. Or if you want to do some bank heist, Payday. There are games out there that are like Left 4 Dead, but just because it has 4 players doesn't suddenly make it Left 4 Dead. And that's one thing, like, it's like the same thing when like Dark Souls came out. When Dark Souls got really popular, and if a game was even just a little bit harder than your average game, people would compare it to Dark Souls. And it's like, no, it fucking isn't. Like, there's no stamina bar, there's no this, and there's no that. Just because it's harder than your average game doesn't automatically make it a Dark Souls game. But that's one pet peeve of mine, that it's like, oh, it has 4 players and you're shooting stuff. It's like Left 4 Dead, but in Cyberpunk. It's like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
Left 4 Dead is Left 4 Dead for a very, very particular reason. What would you say makes Left 4 Dead Left 4 Dead? Like, these are the key pillars.
Left 4 Dead, hands down. First off, you stated a good portion of it, that it made you feel that you were in the world of the Left 4 Dead universe, and you felt a part of your character, because just running along, your character that you were would just say some random small piece of dialogue, and either you paid attention to it or you didn't pay attention to it, right? And if you did pay attention to it, every piece of dialogue was just as vital as the resources that you had to scavenge in the world. If you wanted to know the story, pay the hell attention, because that's what we did. And it wasn't a heavy story, like you said.
Yeah.
It was story, fun, right? Story, fun. And that little bit of story gave you hope. It gave you
Mm-hmm.
more. It gave you this, and just really kind of directed you on how it was. Now, what happened before it didn't matter. What happens after this doesn't matter. We just got to get out of what we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the shove you needed to feel that you were surviving in this universe. All you knew was you needed to get to the end of this level and put gas in this car and get attacked by 2 freaking tanks.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? But there's dialogue all throughout it. Have you found the tanks yet? That son of a bitch said they were up here. So that
Mm-hmm.
leads me to believe that somebody told them about that car.
Right, right.
Somebody told them there was gas there. And again, by that dialogue that you get while playing the game, that was my story.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me is what makes Left for Dead. I mean, you have that plus the amount of zombies that would come in, and how the director would, if you strayed too far away from your friends, the director would send a hunter or a smoker or a bile boomer after you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you really had to be careful to not stray too far.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could go and scavenge and try to collect what you can collect, but man, if you don't stay on it, you don't stay on it. One of the things with the visual artist, I was just actually kind of reading into, pardon me, was how they wanted it to feel that you could blast these things away to oblivion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And essentially you could. You
Right,
did
right.
not have to have a headshot on them. It kind of leads away from, you know, our essence of it. But I mean, when
Right,
you think about it, if a zombie doesn't have legs and arms, is it going to come after you?
right, right.
No, it's not. There's a scene in Fear the Walking Dead where they have a bunch of heads hanging from a tree, and the heads are just snapping their teeth, so it's just a bunch of clicking teeth.
Oh,
It's
creepy.
it's super creepy and way good.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you get that essence in Left for Dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it came down to the nitty gritty, when you're walking through a place, the audio effect of a witch in the distance,
Oh,
come on.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh fuck you, bitch! Where the hell are you?
Or a boomer.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah. Or the hunter.
Yeah.
Just it was
So audio, you hit on one of the pillars that I wanted to touch on, which is
yeah,
audio.
yeah. It felt gritty and alive.
Mm-hmm.
You at no point in the game through dialogue or sound effect do you feel that you're not completely immersed
Definitely.
in this universe of the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the fact that you don't have now headshots do work. You want to take them down the fastest you can, get them with a
Yeah.
headshot, right? But it is what it is. I'm not going to hold that to them in that type of way because they in essence made a perfect zombie game.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think the main pillars for me are the co-op nature, which I already talked about, and how
Yeah.
it has specific zombies like the hunter, the smoker, and in a lot of ways the tank,
Yeah,
where
the
or the
tank.
tank and the witch for that matter, where the tank would focus on somebody who's like pulling the most aggro. The witch would focus on whoever pissed her off. And
Yep.
so in a lot of those instances, you would need your other teammates to be able to survive. Like if you went into a match and you made it so that no bots filled and you tried to do it by yourself, you will most likely die because it's unless you see the hunter coming from a mile away, it's very hard to do so. So co-op I think is number one. Number two is the audio and how immersive, like you said, it is, and the fact that I can tell each zombie apart, which then
Yes.
allows me to tell you, for instance, I hear a boomer. Even
It
if the
allows
characters in the
cooperation.
game didn't shout it out, I could shout it out. And so that there's that co-op, it goes right back to co-op. That audio is there for the cooperation. You know what I mean? So it all
Yeah.
goes back to the co-op. And then I'd say one of the other pillars where a lot of games will get it close, but they won't get it right on. Another pillar for me is how each mission or each campaign, they have different campaigns. Each campaign felt like a movie, and they even set them all up to have like these movie picture-esque things or
Yep. Cutscene.
advertisements, you know what I mean? Because like if I'm looking at No Mercy, it shows them all like standing in a row, No Mercy at the end. It even has a bunch of like letters on the bottom, like giving credits or whatever, and so it makes it feel like a movie, which then also makes it so that it has like a 3 or 4 or 5 act play to it essentially.
And
And
I do
so
love the ending. I do love that end credit scroll that you can accomplish
exactly, it
died
makes you
or
feel like you have accomplished something, because I
yeah,
mean each campaign itself is anywhere from, I mean, depending on how like speed runny you want to be, it can be anywhere from like an hour to 2 hours depending on how
yep,
quickly you try to get through it. So it feels like a movie. It's this accomplishment, and like I said, very few games actually hit that right on the nose. So examples of, you know, the type of Left 4 Deads that there are out there: Payday. Payday
yeah,
is mission structured. So
yes.
it gets a lot of the gameplay, like there's a taser, so I need somebody to shoot the taser, or there's, you know, somebody will, like the clonker, you know, he comes up and clonks you. I can't remember what he's called.
Yeah, clunker. He's called a clunker. I
Oh, is
think
he?
you're
Okay.
he's like
Cloaker, that's what he is, Cloaker.
cloaker. That's it. You're right,
And
cloaker. So we
Vermintide is the exact same way. There's a hook rat,
yep,
there's a spitter, there's, you know, so there's all the same type of zombies, but what they don't get right is that it's also a mission structure.
yep,
So it doesn't feel like, even though all the missions in both of those games I've noted, even though they all kind of string together to
mhm,
make a story, even if it's a very loose story, even though they do that, they don't get it just like Left 4 Dead. So
no,
that movie structure or that act structure is another thing that makes Left 4 Dead Left 4 Dead, because there's just no other games out there that have set it up in this way. And it is part of the reason why it's so memorable. It's part of the reason why we can go back and we can play it over and over again. So speaking of playing it over and over again, the in-game director, there's this AI that they taught how to play the game essentially as a bad guy. And so it's spawning enemies in random locations. It's also spawning enemies based on your location, based on how good you're doing. If you're doing way too good, it's going to spawn more special zombies. If you're maybe hurting really bad, it'll spawn a med pack where there's not usually a med pack. The guns spawn in different places, the ammo piles spawn in different places. You can play No Mercy 3 times in a row. You're going to expect crescendos in certain places. You're
yeah,
going to expect hordes in certain places. You can even trigger hordes if you do like a car alarm or something like that.
yeah,
But those 3 times will not be exactly alike. They'll be similar, but they won't be exactly alike. You'll have a tank in a different spot. You'll have a witch on one level, and then on the next time you go, instead of the witch being on the apartments, the witch will be in the sewers.
she'll be further down the storyline too.
Exactly, exactly.
Sometimes she'll show up in the beginning storyline.
Yeah,
Sometimes you may get 3 witches in one game mode. Which
right.
when you're fighting 3 witches in a game, I'm telling you right now, that shit sucks.
Yeah,
But you're essentially playing a very hard version of chess with a director who cheats and keeps giving himself pawns.
right. Yeah,
I mean, that's what you're essentially doing, and you just keep running out of pawns. So the odds are literally stacked against you. That is the challenge of Left 4 Dead.
yeah, definitely.
And it totally, I mean, it, like you said, how it spawns different enemies towards you. I'm going to go into this just real briefly on the type of characters that you're going to see. The common infected encountered during the game, they are fast and agile. They're weak individually, but may be overwhelming in numbers. They display a special attraction to high-pitched alarm type sounds, so that's what Nick was saying about with the car pipes. You can blow them up with bombs. Common infected will often chase down the source of these noises while ignoring lower pitched sounds. In addition to the common infected, you have 5 specials or boss infected. The first special they list is the boomer. The boomer, we both know, it's a big bloated blob that when it gets too close, it explodes, excreting all of its bile all over
Mm-hmm.
you.
Yeah, and
Well,
it can
that,
also vomit
yeah,
from
they vomit
afar.
on you too. They can vomit from afar. And that, when it gets on you, it attracts, it brings the
Yeah.
horde specifically to you, which makes, you know, makes it super hard to fight them. You got to hit them from afar, and it's better to hit them when they're in a group of zombies because their explosion will
Yep.
kill the horde. So it's a catch-22 character that you can use to your advantage. Um, the next one, Nick, you want to take this? It's the hunter.
Yeah. So the
The hunter,
hunter, that the one that's cool, or one reason this is cool is if you catch it from afar, sometimes it can just look like a regular zombie, although it has a hoodie. They all have hoodies, just like
yeah.
boomers are all fat. I don't know what you're trying to say there, Valve, but come on. Anyways, so
Well, they don't have. Oh, it's a bulimic, so it should be skinny.
but yeah, so the hunters, they will jump on you, and so
Yes.
then they'll just keep thrashing you. And so this one in particular is one of the zombies that go back to the whole co-op thing. If you could somehow like have a custom mode where you didn't have hunters, maybe you could get through this by yourself. But yeah, this
Yeah.
goes back to the co-op
No.
nature of it.
One hunter takes you down. You need your teammate to shoot it off of you.
Right, right.
The next one we have is the smoker. It's a boil-covered creature with 6 long tongues that he uses to ensnare and drag a survivor back to himself. These things freaking suck because when they explode, they cause you to cough. When you cough, what does that make you do? You draw the infected.
Exactly.
It's one of those catch-22 type creatures again. And that tongue really sucks because you as an individual can't get out of it. It takes your teammate to either shoot the tongue or shoot the smoker in the head. It's the only way to get rid of them.
Right.
Is
Which
to
is
take them.
just goes back to like gameplay. One thing I love about it is that like they thought of almost everything in this game where it's like, yeah, sure, you could shoot the smoker and kill him obviously, but then like if he's in a weird area or you have a weird angle or whatever, you could just shoot the tongue. And so there you go, you freed him, and now you can try to get away. He'll be able to tongue you again, but at least you
Got 6 tongues.
yeah. So it's
Which I've never tested it. I've never tested shooting a smoker's tongue 6 times to see if that kills him.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can do that. I wonder if they have a timer or a ticker of some way to do that. But the smoker is also one of those ones. It's a long range creature.
Yeah.
It hits you from afar and you get drugged. So there's that. The next one, Nick, we got the tank.
Yeah. So the tank is basically one of the boss characters. It's basically like a zombie on, zomroids, and it's just this huge mofo. He can pick up concrete and throw it at you. And usually, like I said before, he kind of goes towards the person with the most aggro. And so if you're being the most loud, you're doing probably the most damage to him, but you're also pissing him off because he's like, sound.
Yeah. Maybe zombies don't like sound. Maybe that's why they attack everything.
Right.
Maybe they're not actually hungry. They just don't like noise.
Right. Maybe it's their brain. It's swelling up so much, which is why if you shoot them in the head, it's an easy kill because their brain is so swollen and it's
Zombie
giving
headache.
migraines and shit. You know what I mean? It says
Zombrains.
grain.
A migraine bee?
There you go.
Well, but you're right. The tank does aggro against whoever aggroes. I mean, if you are one of the better players of the match, you can guarantee that the tank is going to be coming after you specifically. And he's very similar to the Hulk, where he will pick up giant stones and huck them at you.
Huck him.
He's a tough character. He's a tough cookie to kill, and he takes a lot of bullet damage. I mean, he's the tank. The next one we have is the witch. The witch is a female infected with long claws that stays crying in one spot. Survivors can often avoid the witch, but if they disturb her with light, loud noises, gunfire, or remain too close to her for too long, she will become aggressive and charge at the one who startled her.
Loud noises!
The fire tune plays when she is near. Now, the one thing that I never thought was possible, you can actually one-shot the witch. And I did not know that until by accident.
Yeah.
I thought the witch was similar to the tank, where you gotta pump her, man. You gotta literally just bash her. She's similar to the hunter, where she pretty much goes after one person and just like latches onto them, and it takes a lot. But unlike the tank, she's a tank hunt. She's a hunter tank.
She's like a hybrid, yeah.
She's like a hybrid, and she's super brutal to fight. She's really hard to get a hold of. And she's creepy, like that crying sound, that weeping sound. When you hear it, you're like, man, I don't want to deal with her, because they don't
deal with this.
They
I can't even.
They never put her in an off-beaten path. No, she's literally in your way every time.
Right.
It's like, well, we literally got to struggle and communicate to get around her, or we have to just rush her.
Yeah.
And when you rush her, be prepared for somebody to go down.
Yeah. Because she's a one-hit kill. Because, like, tanks, for the most part, you can take, like, a couple of hits and he'll, like, knock you back. I think if he's able to throw a car at you, I think that's an instant down. But most of his attacks, even the concrete, it'll hurt you, but it won't down you. Whereas, like, her, literally the first hit will down you. So then, going back to the co-op, you need your friends to be like, guys, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I need your help. I disturbed the bitch.
Right.
It's absolutely terrible. But, I mean, those are the ones that we...
Quick story. Story time. One thing that sticks in my mind about, like, Left 4 Dead, and one reason why I love it so much... Obviously, it's a good game, right? It's a good game. But this is a did you know type of thing, because, I'm not sure where you were at this point. I don't know if you were back in Indiana or... I don't know. So, getting ready to marry Ashley, my wife, and we have a bachelor party. Okay? So, it's me, Levi, Isaiah, and whoever he was dating at the time.
Okay.
And I didn't really feel like strippers because I was a square. I'd never had sex yet, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, I didn't really feel like strippers because I just kind of felt like it's so cliche at this point or whatever. So I didn't really feel like strippers. So we kind of just hung out. But one thing that we did when we hung out is we played Left 4 Dead. We played Left 4 Dead all night. We went through the entire... first set of campaigns. So we did it in order too. So we did No Mercy, Crash Course, Death Toll, Dead Air. We did it all in one run. It was so much fun. And not only was it just fun because it was like, hey, me and a couple of my buddies having so much fun, having but one thing that sticks out to me to this day, and just thinking about it makes me giggle. So there's this the girl that Isaiah was dating at the time. She had a, she had a peculiar name, your gamer tag. I'm like, what's that? It was like, Hakatabib. Hakatabib? And she's like, read it backwards. I'm like, bitch! So literally all night long, we're shooting there, we're killing zombies, and every once in a while, because the way we were playing is they were in his room and we were in like his roommate's room, and so me and Levi were on one split screen and him and his girlfriend was on another split screen. Nice. So we're sitting there, and to communicate, instead of having headsets, we're just yelling at each other.
Well, that's
so throughout the entire campaigns, I'm sitting there, bitch, are you okay? Bitch! Bitch, get over here! Over here, bitch!
And she was okay with this?
Yes. She's the one that made the gamer tag and taught me how to read it, so so the whole night just yelling at her, bitch. Oh my god.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's fairly funny.
So I mean the first game in general
Genuality
was just really well put together. So like I said, the main ones before the DLCs were No Mercy, Crash Course, Death Toll, Dead Air, and I believe Blood Harvest was the last one. I can't remember if it was just 4 or if it was. I can't remember. I think so because Blood Harvest is the one that has the farm. So I believe that Blood Harvest was a part of the regular one, because then after that you have the Sacrifice, Coldstream, and the Last Stand. And the Last Stand, funnily enough, came up recently, I guess. I'm like, whoa, really? But anyways, so we have No Mercy, which you get started at the apartments, you go through some subway, sewer, and then to the hospital. And that's like the main course, I guess, if you want to say, is getting to that hospital and doing that kind of maybe cliche zombie thing, but you're escaping. But it was a fun escape because my God.
Dead Air. It was Dead Air. So it was No Mercy, Hospital, No Mercy, Crash Course, Death Toll, Dead Air was the first one, and then Blood Harvest came in the 5th, then Sacrifice, then Last Stand.
Okay, so what was the second one?
The second one was Crash Course.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, and that one was pretty. What I liked is, because once again, the story wasn't really there, but if you did play it in order, I did like how, like, Crash Course, for instance, started off with the helicopter that you got away in crashing, hence Crash Course. You know what I mean? So I do like how they linked them together, but in really subtle ways, because like you were talking about before, you really had to listen to what the characters were saying. So like when you first started, maybe Zoe would be like, oh man, I can't believe it crashed or whatever, or I can't believe that the pilot was bitten and he didn't tell us, something like that. So you get a little bit of story just by the people talking, and so then I believe you get to some type of a car or something, because then we get to Death Toll, and obviously we're highway. So the first one is you're in a turnpike, and so your car's broken down. So it's like, obviously your characters are like, darn, our car's broken down, we got to get the F out of here. And then we get so that goes through turnpike, drains, church, oh my God, the church, the church town was
stupid,
and then boathouse. So you get to the boathouse, you have to get the boat to you, and of course that brings on a horde and yada yada. So then you go to Dead Air, right? That's the next one. So then you go to Dead Air, and what does it start off with? The boat's broken down. So now you gotta go and you gotta escape again. And so same thing. You go from the greenhouse to a crane, construction site, terminal, then to the runway. So you're trying to get to a plane. So
so you finished with you were talking about how the boat ends and how it kind of progresses you through. I just kind of scrolled through and saw this Dead Air, which was mission number 4. Get to the greenhouse, move on to the construction site, and then eventually you get to the plane. Well, it always seemed to lose me between Dead Air and Blood Harvest. Like the story gets lost. Turns out there was a cut campaign mission called Damn It, an unfinished campaign. It's called DAM. So it's like a dam, like an actual dam. An unfinished campaign developed by Turtle Rock Studios that was originally made to bridge the gap between Dead Air and Blood Harvest. It is playable in its unfinished form via an add-on that was released by some of the staff who worked on it. So I'm curious to see how that is. And secondly, why did it get cut?
Nowadays it's like some type of, timing or something. I don't know. So that's the first game right there. You got No Mercy, Crash Course, Death Toll, Dead Air, and then Blood Harvest, right?
Yeah.
And then you move on to, what was the next one again? Coldstream?
So no, I don't think Coldstream Coldstream didn't come out till number 2, Left 4 Dead 2. So you have Blood Harvest, and then you have the Sacrifice and the Last Stand.
And the Sacrifice, that one was the That one was interesting because at the end of it, somebody had to sacrifice themselves, hence
Yes.
the name. And that was
Yep.
a really interesting thing because then it's like, because like I said, there's little threads holding them all together, but to actually have to have somebody sacrifice themselves was just an interesting story beat, which
Yep.
made it feel even more real. And it was
Yep.
a DLC, so it's like they didn't even have to do it, but it's like they really, I don't know, I like the way
And
they did that.
each one had its own cutscene with dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill, which was my favorite playable character, I love the old man. I thought he was so fun to play as.
Mm-hmm.
I loved his dialogue throughout the entire game. I liked his character. Period.
Yeah. So
Nick
you would
was
call him
fun.
would you call him your favorite then?
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
By far. By far. Nick was also a very good character, as well as the
I don't know about you, but I love Nick. I mean, that was probably my favorite, honestly.
I think Zoe
it's a superficial one, but obviously it's like, he's Nick. That's me.
I want to say Zoe may be my least favorite, and I can't remember the black guy's name.
Well, in the first one, we got Billy. We got
Billy Boy,
Francis,
that's my
which
guy.
I believe is the guy with the tattoos.
Yes.
Or no, maybe it was the black guy. Oh, wait, let me go. I can go right here. Characters. So we got Billy.
Maybe Nick wasn't until number 2.
Bill was the army guy. Zoe was the girl, obviously.
Yep.
Louis is the black guy.
Thank
And then
you.
Francis,
Louis.
like I said, Francis is the
the
tattoo
biker
guy.
dude. Yeah, the biker.
Yeah, the biker dude.
Which I liked
what a
Francis's
name for a
dialogue.
biker dude. Who named him?
Francis.
Johnny Cash?
His name is Sue.
I'm glad you got that reference.
I liked Francis's character. I think I liked Lewis over Francis, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think it went Bill, Lewis, Francis, and then Zoe for me.
Zoe.
In progression, yeah.
Funnily enough, my daughter's name is Zoe Ann.
Oh,
has nothing to do with this girl, but it's just like, it's kind of a cool little, personal story, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, what would you say out of the original maps? What would you say is your favorite campaign? I guess.
Ooh.
It's a hard one because they're so good. They're all so good, so well paced. Because the game director, like we're talking about,
Death Toll has the darkest vibe.
Yeah, that's a good
point.
point.
Death Toll has the darkest.
The entire
vibe,
thing is pretty much at night. Yeah,
it's pretty much all dark and dim, and you're in the forest, so that's really tough.
And the church, dude, the church.
The church is excruciating, but for me, I actually think going through the airport was more fun.
Mm-hmm.
One, because you finally are like, yeah, mother effer, I just made it to the very end. But number 2, that finale at the airport, that wave that hits you is like, I mean, you're yelling at each other. Yeah. He's over here. He's over there. Yeah, like it is rough. And for me, I think that was a lot of fun. But again, it's hard to say because they all have their own.
Yeah, they all have their dips and their rises and falls, which is makes it a hard one. I'd have to say if I had to choose one, because I'm the same way. It's really hard to pick just one.
Yeah.
I think if I had to pick one, there is something about No Mercy that I like so much, and I think it's because it's that finale in the hospital itself, but then just getting to the hospital, because getting to the hospital is basically, so let me check right here. So you start off at the apartments.
Yep.
Then you go to the subway, then to the sewers, then to the hospital, and then the hospital is the finale as well. So it's like that. It might be a bit cliche because, you're going to the subway, you're going to a sewer. That's very horror cliche, but at the same time, it's the most tried and true. But I'd say right on its tailpipe is Blood Harvest, because the finale
Blood Harvest is good.
At the farm or whatever, the farmhouse finale is really gut-wrenching, and what makes it so gut-wrenching is that goddamn corn. So it's like you're just like staring at the corner, and they could just come out of nowhere because you can't see them coming.
And then the tractor gets set off, and then waves just hit you.
Yep.
Well, and then trying to hold down the farmhouse, they have so many in and outs to get to you. Like, I mean, literally, like, you could be in the barn, they're getting to you. You could be in the house, they're getting to you. You could have 2 in the house and 2 in the barn, they're getting to you. It's just constant crashing of bodies that makes it so difficult.
For sure.
So I agree with that completely. That Blood Harvest is up there with my number 1 too. And I agree with you about No Mercy. And maybe not so much that it's a tried and true method, but it's a story we all know.
Yeah.
For some reason, it was the most suitable outcome and play for a zombie survivor. It's like literally like the beta test, like, hey, let me get you addicted to this game real quick. And it's because you go through so much in such a short period of time.
For sure.
But yet you get a good piece of dialogue to come with it. And that plays out well for the characters, because you then start to want to know more of who they are. And it's going to push you forward. It's going to push you to play more and more and more. And that's that grab that video games need to have a good replayability, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you on No Mercy. It's an outstanding level. The hospital is super. I mean, you got to think, why? It's the middle of a zombie apocalypse. If there's going to be zombies somewhere, they're going to be at a hospital.
Exactly. The tight corridors, the way it felt or whatever, the way the atmosphere and everything.
The beds turned over, dead bodies on the beds. Seeing a zombie butt was creepy and gross, but, you know, it is what it is. But overall, I think that it's very hard to depict. And again, that's what makes Left 4 Dead, is that everybody has their own story that they liked. Everybody had their own campaign that they enjoyed.
Yeah.
And even though they have their favorite, somebody could talk about one and they'd be like, yep, nope, you're absolutely right. And that's what made it so good.
Yeah. So that's number 1.
Yeah.
That's number 1. Number 2 came out, correct me if I'm wrong, do me a real quick Google search, but correct me if I'm wrong. Number 2 came out only like a year after it.
2009 was Left 4 Dead 2 and 2008. So, you had literally a year. So, in some aspects, you can say, well, Left 4 Dead 2 is nothing more than DLC content.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah. I don't feel it is. Now, that's where I kind of want to tie into World War Z. Is with World War Z, again, having that Left 4 Dead aspect and play style, you get a little bit extra with World War Z. You have multiple characters. You get 4 new characters per campaign mission in World War Z. Whereas Left 4 Dead, you get 4 characters through all the campaign missions.
Yeah.
So,
which I actually personally prefer, just because it lets you get attached. It lets you get attached to them. But yeah, what made 2 so interesting, not just the fact that they did it within a year. God, I don't even want to think about like the crunch that must have happened.
God.
But like it felt like a perfect continuation, because we got all the stuff that we knew and love, but then we just got more of it. So for instance, zombies.
We got new people. We got a new story.
Yeah, we got a brand new story. But then like the zombies. So let's talk about, since we went through it on the first one, let's go through it on the second one. So we got all the tried and true ones, you know, the hunter, the smoker, the witch, the tank, and I feel like I left one out. No, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, so you had the boomer, the hunter,
the smoker,
that
was the one I left out.
The witch.
Yep.
And then coming into extra characters, Nick, you'll take the first one. We have the Charger.
Yeah, the Charger, which was like a big old hillbilly. He had one big arm, and he would grab you, and then he would just start banging you into the freaking ground.
Slamming you around.
Almost every goddamn time, you would hear him, but then maybe you wouldn't see him, and it wasn't until you heard that he started to come at you, and you're like, it was so hard to like move out of the way, so you'd get grabbed, and right back to the co-op that we're talking about, you had to get out of there. But of course, unlike a hunter, he had a lot of freaking health, so you had to really like pick your shots right and hopefully get him in the head to get him down quicker.
That's absolutely true. He was the epitome of a Hulk smash character, and
Hulk
that's what his
smash.
job was. He wasn't quite the strength and size of a tank, but he was
Mm-hmm.
like a hunter tank
Yeah.
combo.
Yeah. Another
Following
hybrid.
it, yeah, another hybrid. Now, following in after that, we get another hybrid. That was the one thing that they kind of attached to with Left 4 Dead 2 was they started giving you some hybrids. We have the Spitter, a female infected that spits out balls of stomach acid that splatter across an area, quickly eroding survivors' health as long as they remain within it. Not only that, when you would kill her, she would also leave another puddle behind.
Right.
And she's another one of those long range characters, just
Mm.
like the smoker was, where she would just launch these balls of just acid at you,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't see them coming. So next thing you know, you're fighting off zombies, and they come at the most inopportune times
Of
too.
course, yeah.
You're distracted with everything else, and you're like, wait, why the fuck am I green now? God, that's a spitter.
Right.
It's like swallow for once, lady. And
Ugh.
I know, she looks disgusting. She's
Right.
got this
She's all
big hung
disheveled.
down slack jaw,
Mm.
this big old nasty like Tina Susu big belly. It's disgusting.
Right.
But she's a combination of a boomer and a smoker.
Yeah, true.
And you have that long range ability now. She doesn't quite explode like the boomer does. She more so explodes like the smoker does.
Mm-hmm.
So she leaves a puddle of acid around her. So there's an area of effect to her. And I mean, I think that's what makes one of her worst qualities.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, and then the
and
other new one is the jockey,
yep,
which was very hunter-esque, but what I did like about it is that it would jump onto your head, and rather you being pinned to the ground, it would actually like drag your head in a particular direction. So it would purposely drag you towards a horde so that you would be in the center of the horde. So hunters, the benefit is that at least you were in one spot.
Yep.
Whereas that jockey can get on top of you and just start pulling you. And like, no, you're going to come over here.
And their crazy maniacal laugh was just
God, right?
Like you hear them coming. And it's like, oh God, you little shit, get away from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, same thing with the spitters. You would hear the spitters, and they were. It was disgusting. And again, you're going back into that motion of sound. They did. Being only a year apart, there were a lot of, copy and paste. There was a lot of copy and paste. You and I can't deny that.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Definitely a lot of copy and paste in that aspect, but they did enough different to make it feel new, to make it feel exciting, just like the first one was. And you still found yourself wrapped in that world. You know what? Honestly, I think, I said I may have backed away from Left 4 Dead. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I actually ran in consecutive. Because I think I played Left 4 Dead solid for a year, and then Left 4 Dead 2 came out, and I played that solid for a year.
Yeah.
I got the other one. So
the one of the main key differences I would say between Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 is that Left 4 Dead, each finale was basically like a survival mode where it's just like horde, second wave, third wave.
Yep.
And so each thing felt like a finale. Where one thing that they did that was actually kind of interesting going into the second one is they had certain finales that were actually
mission structured style.
Well, let me get to it. But instead of being a big like finale where there's just you're in one area, so it's a last stand type of a situation, instead of being that, it was a gauntlet. So a really good example is the bridge level. Like if you stay in one area, you're gonna eventually die because it's just gonna keep throwing stuff at you. So you literally had to go from A to B, and that was the biggest difference, because then it took that stress of because in the first one, like a good example in the farm, you could get up onto like the second level of the farm and then just shoot down at the zombies, and so to a certain extent you could find a good camping area and just kind of cheese the game, whereas adding in these gauntlets added the stress of hordes and hordes of zombies, hordes and hordes of special zombies, but you had to move. You couldn't stay in one spot, and so that little bit of extra stress or whatever was just such a needed addition.
Yeah. No, you know what? You're absolutely right, and I apologize for stepping on you on
No,
that.
no,
But
no,
yeah,
no.
no, it was you're right. I didn't even think about the gauntlet structures. The gauntlet structures. You're right. It was that immediate shove forward that it's like you're not going to sit here.
Yeah.
Every bit of ammo that you've been collecting over the last little bit, yeah, you're losing that now. You don't get to keep that. We're
Right.
going to make you get rid of it, and you're going to end up struggling to get through it. Um, Not only that, but a lot of the missions were more a lot of the campaigns were more mission styled in the end, where
Yeah.
it was like dead center, where you're trying to get to the race car to escape, and then you
Yep.
have to fill up the race car with gas while being attacked wave after wave.
Yeah.
Those were that's a very mission structure style
Yeah.
campaign, but you're getting story out of it. You're getting, you're finding out about what's his name, Cletus or whatever his name is.
Cletus. Yeah, because
I
like
can't remember
one,
his name.
what it did a lot in one was it kind of got you from point A to point B. There were certain moments where like one in particular, you said the tractor in Blood
Yep.
Harvest, you click that and it made a lot of noise. Or in the hospital, you clicked on the elevator and the elevator made a lot of noise, so they started coming out. There were moments where you would click on something and that's what triggered the horde. You know what I mean? And so we were trained to a certain extent to do that. What I did like that they added to number 2 is kind of what you're saying is the mission structure. So a really
Yeah.
good example is, I believe, Streets, which is the second area of Dead Center. Instead of just going from point A to point B, which was pretty much Left 4 Dead, that's all you did. Point A, point B,
Yep.
point A, point B. But in Streets, like you had to actually go to like the pawn shop, and then you had to grab somebody for some like freaking hermit or whatever that wouldn't let you inside his place or whatever.
Yep.
But going into the pawn shop like started this whole thing, and so they added a lot more to do rather than
Yep.
just point A to point B. So you're
Rather
absolutely
than
right as
just
far as
surviving.
mission. Yeah.
No, I completely agree with that. And with that, you got a whole new cast of characters to kind of care about, and their dialogue and storyline kind of gives you something to go off of a little bit more than what Left 4 Dead 1 gave you. Now, you still totally felt for Bill and Zoe and Francis and Lewis, but I feel that I was more in tune with Coach. I was more in tune.
My friends call me Coach.
Nick. You liked Nick. You had Rochelle and who was Ellis? Ellis, not Cletus. Ellis. I liked Ellis. Everybody was mean to Ellis, but he was actually a good character. Ellis was a good character. Nick was arrogant as shit.
Yeah.
But
what about the guy in the game, though?
I know, right? So Rochelle, again, she's not really one of my most favorite characters of all time. But
yeah, that is one thing that Zoe and Rochelle were just kind of there. I do wish they would have had more than, hey, I'm the woman character.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tick a box. And unfortunately, I feel like they both kind of were. Of course, I could be remembering it wrong. So by all means, if you felt like they had really good characterizations, let us know in the comments or whatever. But for me, it's like Nick is a really good example. He's got the suit and tie. He's very arrogant. Coach, he's, the black guy. He's very kind of like, I'm a soul man. Hey, my friends call me Coach. And then Ellis is obviously the hick or whatever. Going back to the first, the original one, each one of them, same thing. Bill, hardened military guy. He knows his shit.
Yeah, and he actually makes appearances in the second game because he was such a beloved character. They added him as a playable character.
Exactly. Lois, same kind of suit and tie, but he was more of like, where Nick was like a business guy at the top. Lewis was kind of business guy where like he clearly worked in some kind of cubicle. He was very kind of mild-mannered.
But he kind of reminds me of T-Dog from Left 4 Dead.
Really?
Yeah, you remember T-Dog, right?
Yeah.
Season 1? I guess just...
Not even a little.
Oh, come on. Vernacular, at least.
I mean, I guess they were both well-spoke or whatever, but... I know it's just when I see Lewis, I see Lewis. He does have a very certain demeanor.
Yeah.
And then Francis obviously being the biker guy, but then once again Zoe was just kind of like, "Hey, I'm a girl, and
I'm here."
And
I want to see a stronger female lead.
Right. It's like her presence should be known. So, favorite character? What'd you say, Coach?
No, Ellis.
Ellis. That's right. Okay.
I
Yeah,
like
mine is Nick for the selfish reason of Nick, but Coach is right on the heels.
Second.
Right on the heels. So yeah, for me it's Nick, Coach, Ellis, Rochelle.
And I am Ellis, Coach, Nick, Rochelle.
There you go. Yeah. I guess what we didn't say. No, we did do favorite level. So let's go through the levels like we did last time. Okay, so we got first one was Dead Center. That's the one where you started off in the hotel, which I kind of like that because it made it feel kind of like the first one in a way. Because in the first one, for No Mercy, you started off in apartments, whereas this one you started off in hotels. So it kind of made it feel familiar, but because it was an upscale hotel, it made it feel different enough where I could, just feel good about it. I think another big difference is if you look even just, if we go back to No Mercy, everything was pretty much at night.
Yep.
Whereas you start off with Dead Center, hotel is during the day, streets is during the day, mall is during the day, atrium is during the day. So that was one thing that like aesthetically stuck out to me because it's like, oh, okay, that's really cool. I liked that, Left 4 Dead 1 will always kind of have that atmosphere and it felt like, oh my God, it's like creepy and stuff. Whereas this actually did a really good job of like just changing it up. It didn't feel like, okay, like you were saying, like DLC. It didn't feel like DLC because it felt like they actually really did something different, So then
I remember, didn't Dead Center go from when you started in like at night and then you worked your way to the morning?
No. Yeah, it started it was bright daylight. I mean, maybe in Atrium.
No.
Atrium, it might have been nighttime. I'm not sure.
No, because you start out at the car and you're getting guns from the car.
No, you start off on the roof of the hotel.
I'm thinking of Carnival.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking of Dark Carnival. Carnival,
we'll get to
start
that.
off on the freeway. Yeah, no, I apologize.
No,
that's what
fine.
I was thinking. But they do have level progressions where you go from night to morning too.
Yes, definitely.
You don't just have all daytime. You actually have a nice progression of, so you feel like you're progressing over time.
Yeah. And that was one thing that maybe was a negative about if you could say there's negatives, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that a lot of them, if you look at just going down the list or whatever, a lot of them were at night, which helped with the atmosphere. But then, this one just like amped up the just diversity. So hotel, then we go to the streets, then to the mall, and then to the atrium, which like we said, you had to fill up that race car to get out of there, which was very much, like pretty much every time you grabbed a gas, a horde would come. And it took like 3 or 4 gas to fill it up. And so each time it's just like it's getting progressively harder. And then same thing with the randomness of it. It's like there could be a gas can over here, but next time it's going to be over here. So that adds to the replayability. Then we had the passing. I'm not remembering that one. Is that the next one, or is that...
So the passing was a DLC level.
Oh, so Dark Carnival is the next one, isn't it?
So in standard gameplay, Dark Carnival was the next one before the DLC of the passing.
Yeah.
I'll touch on the passing. We'll save the passing for the end. Dark Carnival. Upon finding the freeway out of Savannah blocked by abandoned cars, the survivors were forced to leave their vehicle and make their way on foot to the nearby Whispering Oaks amusement park. Now, like I said, you start off in the nighttime in the car and you're getting your guns out, and then you have to make your way down the freeway. You eventually get to kind of like a pinnacle point, and this pinnacle point is like it's a little motel,
motel, holiday.
And you never know whether there's going to be a witch there or not. That is one of those hot
in
witch
one of
spots.
the hotel rooms.
Or when she's like in the first building before the hotel room. It's total trash. It sucks because she's there. But it has this beautiful night to daytime crescendo to getting to the carnival. And then when you get to the carnival, I mean, it is just a fight all the way through it.
Yeah, because first you get to the fairground, and then you get to the coaster, and the coaster kind of gives us one of the first taste of a gauntlet. Because it's like you have to keep moving. Then you get to the barns, and then you get to the concert, and the concert was just like somebody's all like, let's just have a rock concert and be like, genius.
Right.
Because it just seems like such a random ass level, but at the same time, it's so memorable.
Well, because you think about it, and the way that they talked about it was that this concert was supposed to happen the day of the outbreak.
Yeah, no
so
shit,
it
right.
never got to happen. So everything that was set up and ready never got used.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really cool crescendo to that level.
Definitely.
And literally when I do that, it's because you use fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
You use fireworks and you use audio, and you're waiting for a helicopter to come in to pick you up, and it's a really cool type of map that just kind of pushes you through it. And I really liked it. The next one we have is Swamp Fever.
Swamp Fever.
Swamp Fever was one of my favorite maps, but probably one of my most hated maps.
Yeah, I think you got Plank Country, Swamp, and Shantytown. They all just were too similar to each other. What saved this entire campaign was the crescendo, which is at Plantation.
Yep.
That MFN Plantation, like that's one of those memorable, just like Blood Harvest, where it's so memorable because of the way it's laid out, the way you like can basically go throughout the entire mansion and everything. It felt so good. And I think definitely after kind of slogging through the swamp, you know what I mean? It was such a nice crescendo.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It did feel very much the same throughout the progression of the level, but that's because down there in that neck of the woods, most stuff is very similar down there. So it was one of those levels where the creators are like, well, get ready to struggle. Don't worry, we'll bring you back up. And they did exactly that. They really did bring in the crescendo. Following that, we have Hard Rain. As the evening sun begins to set, the survivors learn that their rescue boat doesn't have enough fuel to reach New Orleans.
Wait,
so
what?
Yep, Virgil drops them off on a derelict town of Ducatel. And in this one, you get the whole like Mardi Gras aspect.
That's true. Yeah,
you remember that?
I remember that now.
Because you get in there and you're really like pushing through, and the rain is heavy. Like there's parts of that mission structure that it pours so hard you can't see or hear. No. The Parish. Which now I'm having trouble remembering which one.
See now, so yeah, Milltown. You start off with the. You go into town, then you get to the sugar mill. My biggest memory of sugar mill is that there's this one part where you had to go into one of the sugar mills, and what's waiting right fucking there? A witch. And this is a part where you can't get around her. So we're like, and I remember you and me just like running around and screaming or whatever, like, fuck, she's after me.
The Mardi Gras one was on the Parish.
Oh, okay. So then
Hard
Mill
Rain
Escape was interesting because we went through the same area, but now it's starting to rain.
Yep.
And so for the rest of the campaign, it's like, okay, now it's raining. So kind of.
That's right.
Yep.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. You go through the map, and then you have to go backwards through the map through the rain. Yeah, that was a difficult one. I forgot about that one. The Parish is the one that I'm thinking of, where you take place in the French Quarter, and you're with the it has the whole Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday theme, and you can use the jukebox to attract the dead.
Jukebox.
The other thing is we really haven't touched on yet is the weapons. They brought some new weapons to Left 4 Dead 2 that kind of made it feel more fun, like the guitar. When you would hit a zombie, you would get that. But as far as like the levels go, the Parish, you kind of went through, Swamp Fever and Hard Rain, and this brings you into New Orleans, into the infected zone. This is, one of the really tough zones. The military's already abandoned this quarantine zone.
Yep.
So you're fighting police and military zombies that have helmets on, and they have, the zombies are no longer just running around as zombies. They have protection on them. So some of them are more difficult than other zombies. And that was what made Left 4 Dead 2 Left 4 Dead 2. Because in the first one, you just had runners and then specials. This one, you had runners, specials, then tanks, and
Yep.
and it was no longer just bam, bam, bam. It was bam, 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 and it was just a climb of different type of shit that you had to fight through.
Mm-hmm.
And the parish was cool because you not only went through the French Quarter, but you went through like the poor part of town with some houses, and then you get to the crescendo,
Mm-hmm.
and you're down in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's one of the toughest endings I think I ever had to play.
This is the gauntlet to end all gauntlets.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm on one side of the bridge, there's freaking bombs going off everywhere.
Yeah.
I gotta make it to the other side of the bridge or I will die.
And everything you've earned is gone.
Yeah, right. I think, getting right into favorites, I think Parish is one of my favorites because they do an even better job in Left 4 Dead 2 of really making each one feel like the next step. So Dead Center bleeding right into Dark Carnival, bleeding right into Swamp Fever, which bleeds right into Hard Rain. The first did good, but I felt like it was a lot lighter as far as like making them feel like one after another. I feel like you could have gone out of order in one and it wouldn't have mattered. Whereas this, I feel like to really feel like you're getting the full experience, you had to do it in order. And that's because the Parish in particular was the perfect crescendo to all the campaigns. Because you start off on the waterfront, you go through a park, then the cemetery. The cemetery was super creepy because obviously you're in the land of the dead, and so it made it really, really creepy. The quarter was like that kind of parade area where you had a bunch of balconies up top, and you had the main area, and then like I said, that gauntlet to end all that bridge sequence was just the perfect way. Because this was before the DLC, obviously, which we'll get to. But, like, this was the crescendo of the entire experience.
Yep. And then you, like you said, you get to that French Quarter. You had to start the float, and the wave that came in when you started the float, having to go up and down the levels, made that super, super difficult. Getting into the downloadable content, we'll talk about the passing. The passing comes in between Dead Center and Dark Carnival. And it talks about how after escaping the mall, the survivors are stopped by a raised bridge. They encounter the Left 4 Dead survivors taking shelter on the bridge, who inform the new survivors that they will lower the bridge if the generator is refilled with gasoline. The survivors make their way through the streets and buildings, past an interrupted wedding ceremony, through some sewers to the generator, where they discover that one of the survivors at the bridge has passed away. With combined effort, And
I totally forgot that they did this. I think it was because of the DLC. Like, I play the main story so freaking much that it's hard to remember that they did add this in to basically link them together. And I believe they added this in to link them together, and then right after that, they added in every single campaign from the first one into Left 4 Dead. So basically, by having Left 4 Dead, you had both of them. But what made it better was that it took all the zombies from Left 4 Dead 2, put them in there. It put the melee weapons in there. And so you had the full, like, Left 4 Dead Definitive Edition before Definitive Editions even existed.
No, I completely agree. And the addition of other levels like Coldstream and Last Stand really pack that punch that I think is what really set Left 4 Dead in the history of best zombie games.
Yeah. Coldstream, from what I remember, came out 2 years ago. So we're talking 7 years after this game was released. They're like, hey, we're just going to, let's put out another one. And it's a 4-act play. And then just recently, like
Coldstream 2011.
Yeah. So the original game I want to say was 2008, right? That's what you said. 2008 for the first one, 2009, and then 2 years later they're like, let's do another one. And then I want to say last month is when The Last Stand came out. And it's like,
The Last Stand came out
why?
September 24th, 2020.
Yeah. It's like, why? Why so many years later? And like, I'm hoping maybe this means Left 4 Dead 3. Like, please?
I mean, that's the hope.
Please?
Just because of what we've already been through.
Valve, listen to me. Valve, look at me. Valve.
They're not listening. They're not listening.
Valve, look at me. Look
listening.
at me. Right here. Make something with a 3. I don't care if it's Left 4 Dead 3. I don't care if it's Half-Life 3. I don't care if it's Portal 3. Make a goddamn 3, you fucking cowards.
Yep.
Into stream. Boom.
Bam. Done.
So, once again, this is, in so many ways, the definitive zombie game.
Yeah.
Any game from this point on is compared to Left 4 Dead. I'd say a couple of really close, but just not quite there games are like Dead Island. What does Dead Island have? It has some spitters. It has the suiciders. It has, yada yada. Dead Nation, which was a, isometric top-down 360 shooter. What does it have? It has a bomby.
Exploder.
A bomby. That's what they called it. It has a spitter. It has, you know what I mean? So it's like this set zombie games to a certain standard.
Yeah. Oh,
to the point now, I will admit that now it's a cliche. Right. It's like, oh, a spitter, how fucking original. But still, at the same time, it's just like this set a precedent. Am I saying it right? Precedent for all zombie games moving forward.
Yeah.
You were either as good as, better, or worse than Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
And it even made some zombie games retroactively better, worse, or as good as Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
And to this day, there is no experience like Left 4 Dead. Let's go back to the pillars. What were the pillars, right? Co-op.
Yep.
Had to have co-op. You couldn't do this alone. And the nature of the gameplay, the nature of the design of the levels, they were all made with co-op in mind.
Yep.
No
the
other
audio.
game.
The audio.
Audio's the next one. Yep.
Was made with co-op and designed.
Mm-hmm. Everything about this game was just made with that care of playing with others.
Yeah.
Now obviously that meant if you're a solo, then I don't feel like you got the full Left 4 Dead experience, because playing with AI is always a chore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're clunky. They don't do what you need them to do.
Yep.
They get lost for some fucking reason.
Right. Sometimes. So we got the co-op. We got the audio, which some games get really close, but very few get on the goddamn mark. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The audio, I have to be able to hear what this thing is. I don't have to be able to see it. Seeing it helps. Seeing the silhouette, even if it's far enough where I can't see it, maybe it's just a shadow. The silhouette helps, but being able to just go, what's that?
Yeah, that's a boomer.
Yeah, that's a boomer.
Like immediately. It's a spitter.
Yep. Yeah.
Or a smoker, slightly a smoker, but
it could be either one, right? They're very close. Yeah. But my point being is that just hearing it, so that's our second pillar. Yeah. And that third pillar, which I feel like is just as important as the co-op, just as important as the audio and the way it feels, is the structure of the campaigns themselves.
Oh, 100%.
Like I said, so many games have tried.
You can't bleed audio. A lot of games, when they try to get close, you'll hear something in the background, but then a character will talk over that sound, and you're like, well, what the fuck was that?
Right.
Or vice versa. You can't hear what the dialogue is of the characters because there's too much ambient sound.
Yep.
Left 4 Dead figured out that nice, even bleed. And the music they had as an undertone music isn't blaring. I don't have to adjust it. It just, it's there, but it's not like... It's not washing out every other sound that's in the game,
for sure.
Which is a big complaint to me. It's because, I enjoy video game music. I like what the creators and composers make. I want to be able to hear it, but I don't want to be able to not hear my game.
Yeah.
And Left 4 Dead was able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. So those are like the three pillars, I think, that make Left 4 Dead, and any game. Once again, huge nitpick on my part, but any game that tried to be, oh, this is like Left 4 Dead, but this, or this is Left 4 Dead, but that, and it's like, but it's not. The only thing, like, here are the only games that I will say it's Left 4 Dead, but X. There's Payday, it's Left 4 Dead, but bank heists.
Yep.
Vermintide, it's Left 4 Dead, but rats and chaos, people.
Yeah. Warhammer stuff. Yeah.
Earthfall, it's Left 4 Dead, but aliens.
Ooh. Yep.
Those are the only 3 games that have ever come, and even Earthfall.
World War Z.
Oh, that's a good point.
You forgot World War Z.
World War Z, but it's third person. So yeah, that's it. That is it. That is Left 4 Dead. Yep. What was your guys' first experience with Left 4 Dead? What do you, when you look back on it, what do you think about it? Let us know down in the comments below. This,
right down here.
Unfortunately, all games will now be compared to Left 4 Dead. Maybe we should have saved this for laugh. Maybe we've made a big mistake.
Maybe it should have been the last to stand.
No,
I think that there's a lot of other good zombie games out there that we can touch on, but at the pinnacle of zombies, Left 4 Dead is the pinnacle.
So speaking of pinnacle, I've heard this so many times. So next episode of ZOMBcast, I'm gonna finally watch Train to Busan. I've heard absolutely nothing but good about this movie. Yep. I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to read. Oh, my God. Right? I'm going to read. I'm going to do it.
I didn't know you knew how to do that.
I can, sir. So that's what our next episode is going to be. It's going to be Train to Busan. So if you have seen it, great. If you haven't, take that plunge with us. Let's take that plunge together. Let's watch it. It is on Amazon Prime, or maybe you have to rent. Maybe find it on like some kind of renting, like Vudu or something like that. But anyways, that's going to be our next episode. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of ZOMBcast. I was Nick,
and I'm that boy Kevin.
I don't think we ever introed ourselves. Now that I think of it, I think we just chat. I think
you guys know.
Did we? I can't remember honestly. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us, and you guys have a wonderful day.
Don't get bit, bitches.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, we forgot to do it. Don't get bit, and do that double tap. Yeah, it's already fun. Bye.
Yeah, we did it.